Assalamualaikum and hello to everyone. My name is Helmi Sari from HSC Engineering Sdn Bhd. Today I have another video presentation with regards to the flowchart for post-contract. I will give an explanation on this process flowchart during the post-contract stage, and it will be useful for construction process during the execution stage. First of all, let me brief on the main purpose of this presentation. This flowchart is to be briefed to all the HQ department of a construction company and also for the project staff of a construction company on their roles and responsibility after the contract has been awarded. This is for the post contracts. Once the contractor have win the projects and they have been awarded and the letter of award has been received. So these are the flowcharts that will happen during the execution stage, and it will clearly define the coordination and the synchronization among the HQ department and among project staff. And this flowchart also will be a manual and guidelines for the new staff and will be a reference for the existing staff on the flow in order to complete the documentation for the ISO 9001, 14001 and 18001. And this also we hope will expedite the decision making at each level of person in charge. And finally, we hope that this flowchart will be useful to determine the staff key performance, the staff KPI, key performance indicator, based on their job description. First slide that I will present here is the overall view of the post contract. So this is the first slide here is more on the subcontract process. When we have been awarded by the client, what is the first step that we need to do is to determine how we want to award to the subcontractor. But this is just an overview. The first will be the responsibility, activity, and we have here is the interface. Okay, when we receive the letter of award, in order to comply all the contract requirement, it will be the responsibility of the contract manager and the contract personnel to identify. And then the contract personnel also will obtain the quotation from the subcontractor and the supplier for all the related works that need to be subcontract. And then they will have a review and discussion with the subcontractor once they receive the quotation by the project manager. And the contract manager will then make a selection of the subcontractor and the supplier, and this will go to the director or the contract manager to obtain the approval signature from the managing director. And then the output will be the letter of award to the subcontract work will be draft for signature. And finally, once it is approved, the director will sign the letter of appointment of subcontractor, and the output will be the letter of award or the work order will be issued to the subcontractor. This is just a brief review of the first slide, which most of the activity will happen during the post-contract. Normally when the contractor receives the letter of award, the first thing that the construction company will do is to get the project introduction or the project charter to be clearly defined. Okay, so first, during this project intro stage, the parties that will involve will be all the company directors and all the HQ and the project staff team. So the project award to main contractor. Okay, the LOA received from the client. From there, the main contractor will have a project kickoff checklist meeting. We will go in detail what is the item discussed in this project kickoff checklist meeting. However, here we want to inform that this checklist meeting will be attended by the head of department and the managers, including the project manager. So all the director and head of department will make a meeting to discuss what is the checklist, kick-off checklist items. And after that, there will be a project presentation. It can happen during this project kick-off meeting among the HOD, and then all the HQ staff and the project staff will attend to this. This project presentation can be separate or can be done together with this second item. And during this project presentation, this is the time where with all the HQ staff and the site staff who has been selected for the project is to brief them on the information on this new project using the tender presentation slide, or the new presentation slide can be prepared for this. And this will brief to all the project staff and HQ staff on who are the stakeholders involved, what are the scope of work involved, and the work schedule, and what are the responsibility metrics, and the risk register also can be briefed at this early stage. So this is like a project charter meeting where all the brief information need to be informed to all the project staff and all the HQ staff, where you will have in an organization, you have a project staff and you will have a function matrix where you have a functional department where the HQ, sometimes the department like the contract department, the procurement department will be involved in the project to support the project staff. Okay, and during this project charter meeting also, during this presentation meeting also, the sponsor of the project, which of course the director, the managing director, or the head of the department of the company, or the senior management of the company, will nominate the project manager and the project staff team. During this time, the project organization chart will be presented. So it will be clear to the functional manager in HQ who is the project manager for this project, and from here the project manager also will identify who is the functional manager that will support them, and which staff will be fully operation staff and which staff will be the functional staff from the HQ that will support them. So this is important. It's very important to have the project charter meeting or the project kickoff meeting. Okay, this is the second slide. Next, during this project kickoff checklist meeting that we informed just now, you can see here is once you got the LOA from the client, we have this kickoff checklist meeting. So the parties involved during this meeting will be the project manager, the construction manager. This is for the project from the project side, and you have a contract manager from the HQ. You have the HR and finance manager is the functional manager from the HQ, and you have the purchasing manager. So these are the items that will be discussed during this meeting, because these are the kickoff meetings that need to happen at the very early. So these are the some example here I give here. You can have, these are the category. There are 5 category here that involve at any starting of a project. These are the items that normally involve. And the first one is to find the subcontractor. So there are some items that need to be subcontract, and there are some items that the construction company can do by themselves. So for example, piling contractor, the precast contractor, the post-stationing contractor, and the CNS subcontractor, if this is not done by the construction company by itself, so they need to subcontract. So this need to be identified during this meeting to briefly identify what are the items that need to be subcontract. And another example also that item can be discussed is if this project need a steel structure, and who are the subcontractor that is required. So this is miscellaneous work and the roofing work also. These are normally the trade that need to be subcontract. And also to discuss on, we can discuss also during this meeting flooring and waterproofing subcontractor, Also the architectural special trait like the block walls, keep coat, plastering, and also other architectural trait like the aluminium and the glazing subcontractor, and also on the MEP subcontractor. Normally a main contractor don't do the mechanical and electrical and plumbing by themselves, so they need to subcontract this special work, considered as a specialist work. Okay, and secondly is the supplier. Okay, this is the contract department need to discuss with the procurement department on who are the supplier for this project. Okay, to request quotation for tower crane if the project need a tower crane or just mobile crane, or if this project also need a concrete pump. So the procurement department need to identify who is the supplier that will be used for this project, and hardware item, who are the hardware supplier, and including the diesel and petrol supply, and also to request for construction material quotation. This is for the consumable item like the cement, wire mesh, and everything. And this is a quotation for temporary office cabin and site equipment, water pump, breaker, motor, and also for the cabin container and quarters container, the guard post cabin and the store cabin or the cement storage yard, whatever the item that they require, the procurement department and the contract department have to work out on this item. But normally the procurement department already have this in their archive, so they can refer back. But it is useful, it is very important to discuss during this kickoff meeting on this item, so that at least the project manager and the construction manager also aware what are the functional manager in the HQ is thinking about. This is important. That's why I always emphasize that the project team and the HQ team need to have uh, a regular discussion so that nobody miss the information. Okay. Also in this meeting, the temporary setup, again, the contract department and the procurement department to identify the temporary building utility, the water, sanitary, and electrical, and the project manager also to assist on this, and the project and construction signboard. The project manager also can discuss with the procurement department what kind of project and construction signboard is required. And then to discuss on the temporary work of the subcontractor, there are some temporary work that need to be done early in the project. For example, like the site office, the canteen, the storage yard, the schedule waste, canteen also need diesel containment yard. This is an example. And the project manager can discuss during this meeting, discuss with the procurement department whether this only use, whether the construction company want to use their own workers and purchase the material. So this is the time to discuss. So the procurement department and the contract department also aware what are the items that the project manager have in mind, so they can quickly plan it properly. And then to discuss on the hoarding and the temporary barricade is also the temporary work that need to be done early stage of the project. And then to discuss the quarter location, if we need to rent some of the nearby land, to rent a nearby land for the workers quarters, because some project don't allow the workers quarters to be placed inside of the project, if we need to be outside. So this also item can be discussed. And then the security service and the fogging service. This is an example only for what can be discussed during this kick-off meeting, so that it will be useful for any construction company. And then the involvement of the admin and the project and HR department also, the project manager and the HR department also, to discuss on the administrative item and the staffing items. So for example, is the safety officer, whether if the construction company don't have their own safety officer and they want to outsource it to a different company, so this is the time to inform the HR department to get the quotation, or the project manager can help to get the quotation and pass to the HR department. And then what are the site staff requirement based on the project organization chart that has been approved by the senior management. And then some of the administrative item, project rubber stamps, stationaries, and that's all. And also on the whatever the site office furniture, computer printer, plotter, this also it looks very petty thing, but it is important in the setup of a project, so that we need this to be discussed at this at very early stage, so that everybody have clear understanding. Looks simple, but it's actually not as simple as that if we don't take care of it. So also on the project rubber stamp, whiteboard, these are some example of the site office item. And the staff equipment such as the PPE, helmets, and the walkie-talkie also is within this department to discuss. And the next is the project deliverables. The project this involve the project manager, the contract manager, and the technical department. Okay, so this one involve a lot on the deliverables that need to be submitted to the client at a very early stage. Of course, we have to look at the dilapidation survey. Should we carry out the dilap survey by ourselves, or we need to, or is a requirement of the contract that we need to engage a third party to do the dilap survey? This also applies if there any requirement for vibration monitoring or the underground mapping. We have to look at it. And then if there's the contract required the noise and water app monitoring, material testing, whatever, and also can discuss on the requirement if there's any licensed surveyor required for the setting up, demarcation, topographic, and the pre-com survey for the piling work, and also to pick up the original ground level for before and after the project is completed. And this also the next item with this one involve the technical department to prepare the project quality plan, safety plan, and all the required method statement, material catalog, samples, and mock-up requirement. This can be discussed during this meeting. During this kickoff meeting, it is always advisable to discuss also this item between the project manager and the technical department. What are the support that need from the technical department in the HQ, from the technical manager, who is the functional manager, to help the project manager. Okay, the technical, sometimes some department, some company also have their own, they call it a project management office. So sometimes the technical department is also play the role as a project management office. And then the JKJ 103 submission, then normally this is done by the safety officer, but project manager have to discuss with all parties who will be responsible to submit this. And then to highlight on the performance bonds and the CIDB levy payment, what is the amount during this meeting, better to highlight. This is the responsibility of the contract manager and the project manager to make sure this. And the shop drawing and the SP drawing, what are the shop drawing required for what trade, M&E or the architecture, and then for future before the project ends, during the closing period, closing stage, what are the SP drawing that is required. So these are briefly the item can be discussed during the project kickoff meeting, so that everybody will know and prepare for this meeting. So it will be very useful. If we have a good kickoff meeting, inshallah we will be having a very good smooth project when we move forward. The third, the next layout. Okay, the next slide here is the subcontractor requisition. This is how we get the subcontractor. So this is, I show here who is in the action and what are the item, the flow we go. Okay, this an important documentation on subcontractor and supplier procurement, the process and the timing. Okay, the involvement will be from the project manager, project director, and the contract manager. First, once we receive the LOA from the client, the contract manager will list down all the subcontractor and the supplier to be awarded based on tender BQ. So you put in the subcon requisition schedule. Next, the project manager will review the baseline work program, and the project manager and project planner to list down the date when the LOA of all the subcontractor for each trade based on the supplier and the subcontractor list required. The project manager then will give the date of the LOA to be awarded. And then once this date has been given by the project manager, the contract manager will follow the schedule of award when they need the project manager need the subcontractor to be in and start to seek for the quotation. Once the contract manager know when the project manager need, they will start to seek which is the most important. So they have a priority, which subcontractor he will award first. So he will seek for minimum 3 quotation for each of the trade and submit. And from once he got the 3 quotation, he will do a evaluation report and submit a comparison report. So then next, the contract manager will call each the subcontractor that he has get the quotation for a tender interview with the director, contract manager and the project director, or can involve the project manager also, to discuss on their pricing and to finalize the tender report in order to finalize the tender report. So once the discussion, the tender interview done with the subcontractor, the contract manager and the project director will make a report and discuss among the director for approval of successful contractor. Whoever they have pre-selected the subcontractor, it need to be approved. So the report need to be submitted to the board of directors. So if it is approved, if it's not approved, the contract manager will have to repeat this process and find the best solution. And once if it's approved, then the contract manager can prepare a draft letter of award to the subcontractor and to be reviewed by the director. And if the director have approved this, if not approved, of course, has to be repeated. If approved, the draft LOA, and then the draft LOA once is signed by the director to be issued to the subcontractor. And this will be issued by the contract manager to the subcontractor for review and final signature. If the contractor have no objection on the pricing and on the terms and condition of the LOA, then issuance of final LOA to subcontractor for signature, and the subcontractor will sign the final LOA, and the copy of the signed LOA to be kept by project manager at site and project administrator to issue copy of the responsible metric to all site staff. So the project manager will receive one copy, and the project admin or the document controller at site will issue part of the LOA, the subcon LOA, which is the responsible metric, to issue to all site staff. This is very important so that the site staff, like the project engineer, the supervisor, the site agent, the construction manager, will know what are the role and responsibility of the, which is the metrics responsibility for the main contractor and what are the responsibility of the subcontractor. So there you go. This is the subcontractor requisition. What are the stage involved? Okay, the fifth slide is the staff requisition. These are also one of the important item. This is when the stage of we want to develop the team. Now we are acquiring. This is considered acquiring the team to ensure that our site organization chart that we submitted to the client is fully compliant. So it's an important document here. This flowchart is important in order to request for new staff based on the project organization. This is the request that we will be given by the project for the site from the project team to the human resource department. So the purpose is to let human resource clearly understand the site staff requirement and the timing. So the party involved will be the project manager, the project director, and the HR manager. So during this stage, project manager first to list down the site staff position, skills, and experience that he need in the site staff, the staff requisition form. There will be a form first to be filled by project manager. With this form, he will put in what is his requirement. And then HR manager will once receive this staff requisition form, HR manager will start advertising the staff as is created by PM and to set 5 candidate minimum. This is just our suggestion. The more the better that if we can shortlist, but it depends on the timing and the duration that they have. So the longer we take to shortlist, the longer we take to select the staff is the better. Okay, we must not rush to engage any staff. There is a lot of things that need to be considered. Okay, then the project manager and HR manager, once they have looked at the shortlisted, they will do a first stage interview. So the project manager, HR manager will interview, and in this first stage, to start discuss on the technicality requirement and the technical capability of the candidate. So from this first stage interview, if they find that the candidate is approved, it will go to the second stage. However, is not approved, they have to look at the shortlisted again, and you have to look at the staff that CVs that they receive, and they have to shortlist again, or they have to wait longer, or they have to re-advertise in the website or wherever they have. Okay, and the second stage interview, this is the time the project director will involve with the HR manager, and the project manager also still can involve, and this will interview the shortlisted candidate to discuss on commercial offer, to discuss on the salary and the remuneration, and this is also the time can discuss on the contract of the employment. And from this second stage interview, if the mutual agreement achieved, then the HR manager will proceed to prepare the draft letter of offer to issue to the successful candidate, and finally issue out the final letter of offer after MD sign off. And after the LOA accepted by the candidate, the HR will notify the project manager and admin or the new staff when is the starting date. When is the start date of the new staff? So from here, then the project manager will take over. So this is the staff requisition flowchart. Okay, next is the post-contract review on the site progress claim to client. Okay, this is the process of when the project have started, and move progressively. So we need to to submit the progress claim. So the first thing is the project manager or the site supervisor will do the site measurement and to produce the supporting document of the progress of work. And then once this is done, the project manager will prepare the claims, and then the project manager will submit the claim. And then after the claim received by the client will instruct the project manager to go for site evaluation with his representative, and then the project manager will follow up with client representative for the payment certification, and will follow the payment terms. If it's 30 days or 45 days or 60 days. This is just a brief. We go in detail later on the stage of the progress claim. Okay, this is the certificate for the subcontractor. The previous slide is our main contractor claim to the client. Now this is the certificate. This is the subcontractor claim to the main contractor. So first, what the subcontractor will submit their claim, and the PM and the supervisor will do the site evaluation with the subcontractor. And then once the site evaluation done, the site evaluation will pass to the contract manager, and the contract manager and the QS will prepare the payment certificate to subcontractor. And then once the payment certificate has been prepared, the contract manager or the finance department will do the checking and do the endorsement, and before the managing director approval signature. And once the payment certificate is approved, it will be passed to the finance department for payment, and the payment will be based on the contract terms and condition, on the subcontract term and condition. Okay, next, this is the subcon progress claim. The progress claim when received from the subcontractor, what are the payment timeline. This is the flow chart. What are the stage, what are the activity involved in the subcon progress claim and the payment. Okay, this flow chart for processing the subcontractor progress claim until issuance of progress certificate. The parties involved will be the site supervisor, site agent, site QS, project manager, and also the project director, and we involve also the account department. Okay, first, okay, this is considered what happened in day one. Day one, at every 22nd of a month, subcontractor to submit their monthly progress claim to site office. Okay, and secondly, once the progress claim received, the project administrator to stamp receive the claim and then to forward to project manager. This activity that happened in day one. And in day two, the project manager will review the subcontractor progress claim, and then he will advise the project administrator, project admin, to pass claim to which supervisor and site agent for verification of work done. Okay. And then the site supervisor and site agent once receive this subcon progress claim from the project admin, he will conduct a joint inspection. Once the joint inspection is done and verification, joint inspection here means the supervisor or the site agent will do a joint inspection with the subcontractor at site and make the verification whether the work is completed, whatever the claim show, whatever shown in the progress claim, whether it's correct or not at site. So they have to do an inspection and confirm during this joint inspection. And during this joint inspection also, if the work is not complete or whatever the percentage that the site supervisor or the site agent want to give, the contractor, the subcontractor need to be there to agree to the decision. Okay. And once the joint inspection done, they will pass back the subcontractor claim to project admin. And the site supervisor also need to inform, is there any back charge form issue, any back charge note to the subcontractor within the same progress claim month. Okay, this happened within day 3 and day 4. Okay, so within 2 days after the thing passed to the site agent and the site supervisor, the progress claim passed, within 2 days they have to complete the joint inspection. And day 4, still in day 4, the project admin then send the verified claim to HQ. Whatever the claim they have verified, they need to send to the HQ admin before distribution to QS department for preparation of payment certificate. So therefore, we pass this claim that has been signed by site agent and site supervisor, they will pass to HQ. And then HQ admin, when they receive, to record the receipt date of the subcontractor progress claim, and then they will pass to the QS in day 5, and the QS will take another 5 days, the QS in HQ, to check the progress claim on all the required checking and start preparing the draft payment certificate with supporting document, along with all the deduction for back charge. So within the 5th and the 10th day, the QS in HQ need to complete this checking and start preparing the payment certificate. And then on day 11, the contract manager will check the payment certificate and will check all the backup document. If the contract manager satisfied, he will approve this document and pass the payment certificate and all backup document to director to review. It means review and approve. And if the director approves this on the day 12, if the director approves, within 2 days, day 14, HQ and admin to pass the approved progress certificate to account department, and QS here, the QS here will email the soft copy to subcontractor. This is the approved progress certificate on day 14. So you can see now from day 1 to day 14, the progress certificate has come out and passed to the subcontractor. So when the progress claim is on site, between day 1 to day 4, The project manager on site is responsible to ensure that all the timeline is followed. Once the document has been received by the HQ, the functional manager in HQ, which is the contract manager, to ensure that from day 5 to day 14, this timeline is followed. This is very important. This is for all the subcontractor. So you can imagine if there is a lot of subcontractor, so the contract manager have to carefully make sure that this happen for all the subcontractor. And then the account department then to process and prepare the payment check for MD signature. And this will take another 14 days to the day 28. If the after this, if the managing director approve the payment check signed, and then the account department then to notify director once payment has been issued to subcontractor. So you can see now the subcontractor payment from day 1 to day 28, what are the stage involved. So based on the payment terms with the subcontractor, so this can be completed from the first day the claim is submitted. The claim can be, but this day 28 is just a suggestion. It depends on the letter of award for the subcontractor. You mention the day 45, then the payment will only be released by day 45. It's all up to the company jurisdiction. If they have concern, if the project needs, if the subcontractor, if they feel that they justify that they can release the payment early, it's up to the managing director or the senior management to decide when they will release the payment. However, from the project and the functional manager, they need to achieve this certificate to be approved. Okay, so this is example what we here in HSC try to educate every one of us the importance of to follow the timeline. Okay, next, this is the change order request process flow. So if there is any variation, this change order is always involved about the variation given or the new instruction given by the client or whoever the stakeholder involved in the project. It can be the client or by the stakeholder. So the first thing, this is the step that need to be done. Okay, this is a flow chart for processing or change request order to the client. The person involved will be the site supervisor, site agent, QS, project manager, director, and the account department. Okay, first, architect, engineer, or client will receive the instruction. Normally, these are the stakeholder that will give the change. It's either the architect, the client architect, the client engineer, or by the client themselves. But sometimes the specialist subcontractor or the subcontractor itself may request for changes due to whatever reason in the project. So once this first step, we receive an instruction from the stakeholder. So this received via email to project manager and project director. So normally project manager or the project director of the contractor will receive the instruction. So the architect instruction or engineer instruction or the client instruction AI, EI and CI recorded by the project admin. The project manager will pass this to the project admin to record. And the project manager and contract manager to start discussing this instruction. And this is happened in day 2. So first day 1, when they receive the instruction, the project manager will see if there is no variation. Variation here means no cost and time implication. If there is no time implication, the first that the project manager will do is to issue the instruction to the subcontractor for execution on site. Straight away to issue to the subcontractor to do, or the contractor will carry out the work by themselves. So the project administrator will forward this instruction to the subcontractor. This is if no variation. And also, if there is a variation in terms of time and money, so the site QS or the contract manager to forward to subcontractor to submit their quotation for the variation. So they need to know what are the time and cost impact from the subcontractor. So this will be done by the site QS and the contract manager. However, the subcontractor can choose to proceed with the work as per the instruction. This is day 2 and day 3. While giving the pricing to the contract manager, they can choose to proceed with the work as per the site instruction. However, they also have the right to wait for the approval of their quotation before they proceed with the work, because this involves changes. Okay, they can choose to do while waiting for it to be approved. But however, they also have the right to choose not to do the variation yet, but proceed with their current contract work. But these are the scope of the project manager and the contract manager to discuss with the subcontractor, because this new requirement may affect the current contractual work. So a lot of things need to be discussed here, and the project manager have to do their own expert judgment to discuss with the subcontractor, and the project manager also need to do a negotiation, to have a negotiation skills with the subcontractor on how to deal with this issue. It's a lot that the project manager need to use his experience to discuss with the subcontractor to deal with this variation or the change order. Okay, once the quotation is received from the subcontractor, the QS and contract manager will have to prepare the change order request. This have to be done quickly, because this change, we have to follow this timeline. The contract manager and the site QF has to follow this timeline, because this change need to get the approval in terms of time and money fast. Okay, we need to get the approval from the client fast. Okay, so by day 7, the director can review already what the change order COR prepared by the contract manager, and if the director of the contractor approve, then the project admin will submit the change order request to the client and to record when they submitted. And once the change order request submitted to the client, the contract manager responsibility to follow up with client representative or the consultant representative until the change order is approved. So this is sometimes the approval will take a very long time also, and the contractor will have to properly record the time. Why we need to properly record the timing is, this is important for the contractor to know when the decision from the client comes, when the client give the instruction, and when the client approve the change order request. So is there any time impact from where the contractor need to do the new work or the rework or the new changes? So this is important, and this information will need to be kept properly by the project administrator and need to be passed to the planning department in HQ in order to apply for the extension of time. So all this record need to be done properly, and the planning department and the technical department as a functional matrix in HQ to follow closely on this to support the project in terms of EOT application. Slide number 10. This is the request for inspection. Okay, this is the site normal daily day-to-day work. Okay, for the contractor, need to constantly inform the engineer about the work plan. The purpose of us to submit the request for inspection, because we want to claim. Okay, we want to claim get the work verified. We want to the work that we completed, we need to get it verified before. Once the sectional work completed, we need to get it verified. We must not wait too long, or we must not skip every section that we completed. We must get the work verified. So by submitting the request for inspection is a way to get the work verified, signed off by the client representative, which normally is the consultant. So the request for inspection, RFIS, can be submitted via the call or SMS or briefing. These are the through that it can be done. The call is just to inform first. However, the formal form need to be submitted. So this will involve the site supervisor, site engineer, site agent, client representative, and project admin. We have done a presentation before about the responsibility matrix. There, in that presentation, we have clearly put who are the responsible party for any request for inspection. Either is structural inspection, architecture work inspection, or the M&E work inspection. Okay, the supervisor will raise an inspection checklist, RFIS. The request for inspection form and inspection checklist will be raised by the main contractor. This is by the site supervisor 1 day before the inspection. Okay, once they have raised, then the request for inspection form will be sent to the consultant and client representative for acknowledgement receipt. So this also, as per the first steps, is to be done 1 day before. Once they prepare, submit to the consultant or the client. And then the supervisor and the consultant will go for the inspection to verify the work. So, for example, before we concrete a slab, we have to inspect the rebar and inspect the formwork. So this has to be done 1 day before. The submission of the request for inspection 1 day before, and then to notify them 24 hours is a normal standard, or earlier if they request. Then the next day, go for inspection. And if the inspection is rejected, as you can see here, then the main contractor to rectify the work and resubmit the revise. They will go back here. So once the work has been rectified, they will resubmit the request for inspection. And if approved, then the main contractor to proceed the construction work. Either they want to proceed with the casting or proceed the next stage. Proceed to the next stage. So, and after that, the copy of the approved RFIS to be filing by the project administrator. So this is the flowchart that we put here. Normally, before we start the project, the main contractor need to submit the ITP, the inspection and testing plan. So what are the items that need to be inspected will be clearly defined there, and when the submission of the request for inspection will be done, also will be stated there. Okay, so it's all in the project, normally mentioned in the project quality plan, which have to be submitted as we discussed in the project kickoff meeting. The PQP need to submit it and to include the information on the ITP. And this flowchart is just a reference now on how the inspection will be carried out. Slide number 11. This is the material requisition or purchase requisition. This is the traditional way. Nowadays, there are new software available. We know that there are a lot of software available where they want to help the main contractor to do the material requisition by having a digital way of doing it by using a software. But this flowchart is for the traditional way, how the material requisition is submitted. So it is a source of document that used to request material for construction process to the purchasing department. So purchaser will submit ordering the material once receive the MR and await the material arrive on site. to be followed up by person in charge or the storekeeper, and the filing work by project admin. So the party involved will be the site supervisor, site storekeeper, subcon supervisor, site engineer, QC engineer, construction manager, purchaser, or the project admin. Okay, first, the QA/QC engineer to provide a list of approved material to main contractor site supervisor. So this we are material approval list. In the weekly or monthly progress report, there will be a list of what material that has been approved to use in the project. So then the site supervisor or the subcontractor will fill out the material requisition form and to put in what are the material description, the quantity, and the location to be used. And this will be recorded into the register list summary. And company stamp and the signature is required in this material requisition form. And then once the requisition form is prepared by the site supervisor, it will be checked by the site supervisor if it is requested by the subcontractor. Once it has been checked by the supervisor, it will be passed to the project manager for approval or the construction manager approval. Once the project manager have approved, once the project manager have approved, a copy of the MR, the material requisition, will be forwarded to the site storekeeper to follow up the delivery of material, to follow up with DCC and quantity delivered to country ordered comparison. So a copy site storekeeper need to be know what item have been ordered. And the purchaser, the approved also will be passed, the approved MR will be passed to the purchaser, and the purchaser will issue a PO for the senior project manager or the project director approval prior issuance to supplier, and to indicate clearly the PO, the PIC name to receive the material. Normally the person in charge that will receive is the person who requests, either the supervisor or the subcontractor who requests to buy through the main contractor. Here I also just now informed that if the MR is raised by the site supervisor, the project manager and the construction manager need to check. Okay? And once the PO have been issued by the purchasing department, a copy of the PO will be passed to the quantity surveyor to compare the quantity ordered toward the quantity taking off MBQ. So this is the cumulative quantity of the material. Then the QS need to check to make sure that the quantity actually order is not exceed the quantity mentioned in the BQ, because the contractor will be paid based on BQ, so they do not want to order something is more than the quantity to control the quantity. Okay, so the copy of the approved MR to be filed by the project admin to ensure that the document is filed in accordance to requirement. So a PO also can be, the copy of the PO also will pass to the QS, and the copy of the PO also can be passed to the site storekeeper to follow up with the supplier. Okay, and for the information of the storekeeper. Next slide, how we deal with the delivery order. This is the delivery order notes. The material have been sent to site. How we deal with it. So it is important that the document from supplier during delivery material. The delivery note is an important document. So it consists of material description and quantity delivered. In the DBO, we will mention the material and the quantity. And the item that need to be checked is the date, the material, the quantity, and the quality. And the parties involved in this checking will be the site supervisor, the site engineer, the QA/QC engineer, site agent, construction manager, and the project manager. This is the party involved. Thus, for the checking, will of course will be by the site supervisor, but the sign off of the received DO will be involve all the parties, because it is important that everyone in the site is knowing what are the material that arrive on site. So first, the supplier send the material to the project site. Okay, the first party to receive is either the supervisor or the storekeeper. Received by site supervisor or storekeeper, and then the material will be checked by the site supervisor. If the material is rejected, the rejected item to be returned back to supplier and the material to be replaced by supplier. But if the material is approved as per the requirement and as the right material has been delivered as per the DO, so the acknowledged receipt of DO by main contractor site supervisor have to acknowledge, or the site engineer, or the storekeeper also can acknowledge. How they acknowledge? They have to sign, they have to put a company stamp and mention the date. Okay? So in the DO, the site supervisor or the storekeeper to do this. Okay? Once the DO is received, it is a good practice to post the DO received in the WhatsApp group by the storekeeper or by the project admin, so that everyone at site will know what are the material received. This is a good practice actually. But we are looking at to create a software to how to advertise this DO other than just using the WhatsApp. How do we broadcast to the entire team what are the material that we receive? Okay, and then the signed DO will be passed to the construction manager or the project manager for acknowledgement. The compiled DO sent back, and then this will be signed off by the project manager. It's important to have a project manager sign off on the DO also for payment purpose. Okay, so the DO will be received by account department once it has been compiled. Once a week, let's say every Friday, all the DOs for the previous week will be compiled on Friday and sent to HQ and received by account department. Account department will be checking the DO and ask site if there is any inquiries. And once okay, the account department will start processing all the DO for payment. And the project administrator then to update the received DO by the account department in the register list, and the scanned copy to be kept at site. Okay, this is how we deal with the DO. Next, another important item during the post contract is the site diary. Okay, this site diary is very important actually, where you have to record every day what are the manpower, what are the site activity, what are the material received on site, and what are the machinery on site, material on site, machinery on site, and what are the working hours, and to record also on the site condition and the weather. It is important to record. It is a proof of construction quality and progress. So this site diary is used to save day-to-day site activity. All the activity that happen on site need to be recorded properly. For whatever, whether it is small or big, it is a good practice to record everything. And the party involved again here is site supervisor, site engineer, the QAQC engineer, the construction manager, project manager, and the project admin and DCC. Okay, so first, the site supervisor or the site engineer daily have to complete the previous day activity site diary. And this has to be compiled by the QAQC engineer. The QAQC can compile every day, and every day or every week is best is to compile every day, and need to be checked by project manager or the construction manager. They have to compile every day and pass weekly. Every Saturday or Friday, they can choose a day to pass the 1 week compile site diary to project manager. Don't wait too long. Don't wait until 1 month only to pass the site diary to the project manager. The best practice is QAQC engineer collect the site diary every day, or the planning engineer, QAQC engineer or the planning engineer on site collect the site diary every day and pass to the project manager once a week. And then if it's rejected, if the once the project manager has signed, it will be passed to the client consultant to on site, client representative on site to sign. It can be done weekly on Saturday or Friday also. And then if it's rejected, the main contractor to resubmit the site diary. Again, the process will be repeated until it's corrected. And then get back to the consultant to sign. And once the consultant or the client representative approve, the project admin will compile in the file as a control document. So, and to put in the register of summary list for site diary record. So these are the practice that good to be done on site, and please follow this practice thoroughly so that we won't have so much headache at the end of the project. When we need to trace back any important activity, the project planner can have this as a valid document to apply for EOT. Any problem to apply for extension of time, or any problem in the future that we need to refer back to the site diary on the chronology of event, nobody will remember at the end of the project. So somebody have to record the site diary. Next is the request for information. It's a source of document that we can use if we need more information to interpretation of a detail or the specification or whatever that we don't understand, or we need further information in the construction drawing. We can issue a request for information. And this is to secure a documented directive or clarification from the architect or client that is needed to continue work. So we want to make sure that we understand the things properly. We do not want to make any mistake or any misinterpretation of the drawing. Or even if we don't have enough information or enough detail also, is the contractor right to ask for more information. So, and the information need to be responded by the client at the given time, or be responded by the consultant at the given time. And the contractor must record properly when he received the response, because any things that will affect this work on site, this is a valid document for them to claim for the extension of time. So this RFI can be forwarded through email or send notification by WhatsApp. But however, the hard copy still need to be submitted to the consultant office, or can be submitted during the consultant contractor meeting, and must be distributed through a transmittal form. Probably record when is the date we submit the RFI. And these are the parties involved in preparing this request for information. And first, the flowchart here, main contractor to raise the RFI. This is by the site supervisor or the site engineer. The project admin will forward to the architect or the client to acknowledge receipt. And then normally we give 3 days maximum for the client or architect or the consultant to respond, to review, and then respond. The consultant will respond and pass back to main contractor. But some can take until 7 days. It depends, or even more than that. And then once it's responded, the copy of the RFI responded, the responded RFI copy to be distributed to the main contractor, site staff, and the subcontractor who involved. This to be done by the project administrator or the document controller. And then the copy of the responded RFI to be filed by the project admin. So the RFI that is received need to be filed properly for future. We don't know what we can use for what purpose, but normally the RFI also play an important part when we want to submit for extension of time. Okay, after that, another thing that is also important during the post contract is, for example, is the traditional work, concreting work, and the concrete ordering. These are the party involved: site supervisor and the engineer and the site agent. So once we complete the inspection, before we start the concrete casting, the work inspection need to be approved first by the consultant. And once it's approved, the site engineer or the site supervisor will highlight the location and calculate the quantity required in the layout. It is a good practice. Before they do the casting, check properly the location that we want to cast and calculate in the layout properly what are the quantity that is required. And then it is a good practice, once the calculation is done, pass to the site agent to check on the quantity that to be ordered. Once the site agent can respond checking the quantity, and he also can inform the site supervisor on the interval time to check also on the interval time to order the concrete. Once the site agent have determined the interval time and advise back to the site supervisor, or the supervisor can also advise first the site agent on the interval time, and the site agent can concur to the statement or not, whether he can agree with the timing, and then he can approve. Once the site agent have approved, then only the supervisor can call out the concrete from the batching plant. And once the concrete will be delivered, the site supervisor to prepare the slump test as per the requirement of the project quality plan. So once the concrete arrive on site, site supervisor to collect the DO and to mark the slump test reading in the DO, and also to mark the concreting area. Again, although this looks so simple, but this is very important. When the supervisor receives the concrete delivery note, please make sure that you write first, record the time that you receive in the DO, and then record what are the slump test reading in the DO, and then record in the DO where are the discharge area. Do this and a lot of things, it will make a lot of difference, it will be very useful. Okay, next slide, item 16. This is the flowchart for the material, shop drawing, or the method statement, and the method statement submission for approval. So the flowchart is to be reviewed prior to submission to client. These are the stages involved. And first, the site QS to list down all the material to be submitted for consultant client approval. Okay, based on the BQ spec or is an alternative equivalent material. And then the QA/QC engineer to list down all the work method statement, the shop drawing that need to be submitted for client or consultant approval. These are the party involved. And the QA/QC then submit the material submission form along with the drawing or catalog or sample of material, and then submit to project manager for checking and approval. Once the project manager has approved, the QA/QC or the project admin will submit to consultant for approval by email or by hand. If the submission is rejected, it needs to be resubmit or repeat back the process. Use the same form. It's better to use the same form and resubmit. And then if it is approved or approved with comment, the project admin will record properly, compile the document in file, and register in the summary list when the approval is received. Okay, or what are the comment, the approved with comment, do a table, do a summary, a table of all the document, either is a material or the shop drawing or the method statement that has been submitted for approval. Okay, once it's approved, then slide. Okay, this is an example of daily reporting by the site personnel. We are a social or working group, either it's WhatsApp, or nowadays we can also use Facebook groups, also or the Facebook company page to update in the group. So this is a proposed how the staff can report daily to the team, and how the data can be collected by the site supervisor and shared to the team. Okay, these are all the parties that involved. You can see here site agent, site supervisor, the safety supervisor also, and the engineer, and the project coordinator or the project admin. So what are the items that need to be updated daily? Of course, we need to update daily about the manpower, the machinery, the weather record. Although these are all the items can be recorded in the site diary, but these are the items that we can update regularly in the WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp group, but if we don't utilize them properly, we don't make full use of it, it will be a waste. It will be wasted to have the WhatsApp group created. So these are the things that can be posted in the WhatsApp group. We are thinking about creating a website, a system, or a website web base to create these updates. However, these are by using the WhatsApp group. These are the daily reporting that we have put here by hours. Okay. First in the morning, 8 a.m. the triple S or the safety site supervisor, okay, the site safety supervisor can report the TBM. Give a photo. This is an example. Put a photo and report about the TBM. Where are the people? How many people is working? And then at 9 a.m., the manpower and crane machinery report by the supervisor. The morning is the TBM by the site supervisor. 9 a.m., once after this TBM, the site supervisor will gather the information about the day and post in the group. What are the manpower and the crane machinery? And at 10 a.m., the supervisor will do the installation planning report, put in the WhatsApp group. What is he planning to do? It can be very simple report only. Or just show what are the area that he want to put the rebar or formwork. Just put. And then the casting planning of the day. Surely he know already from at 10 a.m. he know already what is his plan. Whether it happen, doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, there must be a plan for casting for that day, or a grouting planning of that day, or the material that can be delivered on that day, or the element that can be delivered, if it is precast element or whatever element, or the steel element. You should know already and just broadcast to the group so that everyone know. So everyone know what is happening on site. It is important that when you are a team, report to the team. Okay. All right. At 1 p.m. after lunchtime, normally site lunch hour is at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. So at 1 p.m. After the lunchtime, have a staff meeting. The project manager has to take charge of this. This is the staff meeting that can be done, that the supervisor can update whatever he posted in 10 a.m. What are the status the status of this work, whether it can happen or not. At this 1 p.m. meeting, 1:15 p.m. meeting, they can update the status. Why is it important? Why I say that it is important to update the status at 1 p.m. At least if there is any problem happen that hindering the planning from happen, the target from being achieved. So at least the project manager have the time to rescue and do something about it. That is the importance of reporting. Everyone needs to report. So when it is reported, everyone know what is the problem. During this staff meeting at 1:15 p.m., the supervisor need to highlight what are the problems faced by him to achieve the target. Okay. We have another slide for this 17. We have 17A, but before we go to the next slide, I show here, this is an example of how to report in the social group, and this is example reporting using a whiteboard. If you have a whiteboard like this, when we take a photo, we do a whiteboard and put a name, location, and activity. Who is the person who report the name, and then where are the locations? Zone 1, for example, road work. And then what are the activity? Excavation, laying, just take time member. This is an example already. This is a good practice of how you can report in the WhatsApp group. So that when you take the photo straight away have the information inside, so that you don't waste the time. If you type what are the description of work in the WhatsApp group, it will be lost in the future. So the photo itself already letting people know what is the activity and the location about. It will be a meaningful photo if to share a photo like this in the WhatsApp group. Okay, next, still in the daily reporting, still the same item here. At 2 p.m., 1 p.m. after the staff meeting, don't take too long for the staff meeting. What need to be known, what need to be known in the staff meeting is what are the target, what are the problem faced to achieve the target. And then that is the important thing to highlight. And then 2 p.m. and to 4 p.m., the storekeeper need to update what are the material has been delivered for the day. What are the items have been delivered for the day? Within this duration of time, the storekeeper have to update. And then during this duration of time, the supervisor have to update. This continue to update what is the status of his target. Okay, at 5 p.m. is the compilation of the site diary by the project admin or the project engineer, and then the compilation of the request for inspection for the next day. Okay, and after 7 p.m. at night, the final report is laid out for the following. So this is the time you have to report back what are the installation progress by the supervisor, and what are the CS work progress completed, what are the things completed for the day. Whether they are work to be continued at night or not, this is the time. Before 7 p.m. or after 7 p.m., by 7 p.m. need to be reported. So you can see here how important it is for us to have a good reporting in the WhatsApp group, is that whenever there is a problem, the project manager make known about it, or the project engineer make known about it, they have the time to respond. If you don't report properly, the project manager are not able to respond fast. Okay, so these are the synchronization of work. Okay, I have gone through all the important aspect during the post contract. So here is the summary that I can say is that the flowcharts that has been presented just now will be a guiding material to all the person in charge, whatever the related department, either is the HQ department or is the project department during the construction process, and to ensure a smooth process. Everybody know what they are doing. So the timeline also need to be followed. And this flowchart is to be reviewed by the project manager together with the project team from time to time. Some improvement can be done to this flowchart. This flowchart that I have presented is just a guideline. It can be make better. It can be improved from time to time. Okay, and the discussion and improvement toward the flowchart can be further discussed in the project site staff meeting. Okay, you can have a daily meeting to follow up on the progress of work, and you will need to have a weekly staff meeting to discuss on overall what are the things that can be improved. So I would suggest daily to have a very short and brief and dense staff meeting. Don't go too long on the daily meeting. Daily meeting just to discuss what is the target. Okay, 3 things that you have to discuss in the daily staff or meeting, or you call it staff discussion. You can choose to do it in the morning, or you can choose to do it after lunch, 1 o'clock, 1:15 p.m. as I suggested. But you can also do it in the early in the morning. Okay, 3 things that you need to discuss. The first thing is you have to get the supervisor to report what they achieved yesterday. And secondly, to report what is the target of the progress they want to achieve today. And thirdly, they have to report what are the problems that they face to achieve the target today. Only these 3 things. So the project manager will take these 3 things, and the third one is most important. What are the problems faced by the supervisor to achieve the target? This project manager just discuss these 3 items, and straight away after the meeting, the project manager have to attack to resolve the problem and achieve the target. So if this is short daily discussion or daily staff meeting. And then you will have a long weekly staff meeting. I suggest to be done weekly. You can do it on Saturday. As I mentioned in my previous video presentation, you can have the project manager can have a weekly site staff meeting on Friday or Saturday. The best to be done on Saturday. He can take like 1 or 2 hours to conduct this meeting with his site staff team, and we can discuss on the documentation, what is the progress of the documentation, and he can review what are the problem faced to complete the documentation, and he can do a improvement discussion throughout the week, what they can do a lesson learn. He can also start do the lesson learn from the week, what they can record and produce, and he can also discuss the progress for next week during the staff meeting. Okay, so I hope this will help most of the construction company, especially in Malaysia and also briefly in the entire world. You can use this as a reference. This flowchart that I have given, you can use as a reference when you are doing the project. At the execution stage, during the direct or managed project work stage, you can do that. You can use this flowchart wherever you find it is useful. So I would like to say thank you for taking your time to review this long presentation. And we from HSC Engineering are delighted if you would like the video and subscribe to our channel, because you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for us to continue produce, for you to continue be updated on the latest video issued by us. Okay, uploaded. We will continue to upload videos, and you can also visit our company page in Facebook. You can go to www.facebook.com/hscesp. In YouTube, you can also subscribe to our channel. So I would like to say thank you to everyone and all the best in your upcoming projects. Thank you.